Welcome to the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine Weekly Newscast.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine Weekly Newscast. I'm Dave Sadler, the host, and this week we've got, again, 3 stories of great distinction to discuss, and also to let you know an update about the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine website itself. We're currently about 99% complete. The only problem we currently have is the new Facebook API settings. Find that you need a quantum bachelor's degree in quantum physics to be able to set that up. So I'm hoping that goes through sooner rather than later. The Twitter account is back up and running, so we're nearly there. So, we've had a few weeks of chariots being discovered in the UK, and this week we've got an Iron Age one found in East Yorkshire with horses leaping out of their grave. Again, a number of fantastic images of archaeologists at work on the the internet, in particular the Yorkshire Post in this case, where you can see the shield as part of the burial being found. You can see other second burials, you can see the horses, you can see a whole bunch of archaeology, and the archaeologists claim it is an unparalleled discovery in East Yorkshire. The chariot buried with 2 horses which look as if they were leaping upwards out of the ground. The pair had been carefully positioned in a 9-8 grave at Pocklington, with the legs bent and hooves just off the ground, ready to spring into the next life. Fascinating for me because I've been to Pocklington a number of times, not to do with anything regarding archaeology or metal detecting, but obviously I know the area, so it makes me feel like I'm similarly attached to the area. The chariot, with a man aged in the late 40s upwards in a fetal position inside, had been buried upright, as though the vehicle was ready to roll on into the future life. Again, I can't tell you enough about these images. If you go onto the yorkshirepost.co.uk and you search for the Iron Age chariot burial, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. There was another amazing find nearby, a young man aged 17 to 25 who had been ritually speared with 10 iron and bone spears. He had suffered blunt force trauma indicative of being in conflict. What more can I say about this site? I think people in the UK, first and foremost, on next Wednesday, December the 19th, on BBC4, if you look out for BBC's Digging in Britain programme, you'll learn more about this archaeological find there, and kudos to that programme as well. I watched one 2 nights ago, and it was a great amount of information, especially from some of the baths, the Roman baths. So have a look at the Digging in Britain programme, and try and look at the news. There's been a Roman fort settlement revealed in Cumbria near Kirkby Thor. The footprints of post-building structures were discovered by Guard Archaeology Limited, working along with the Highways Agency and Amy Consulting during improvement works along the A66. This isn't far, obviously, from the Antonine Wall, the Hadrian's Wall. We know northern England is a hotbed for Roman activity, and there's been a hell of a lot of things found there in the past. Traces of a vicus or extramural settlement in this area are mentioned in antiquarian accounts, and were also identified through geophysical and small excavation in the 1960s, but the modern research provides some of the first tangible evidence of the settlement's location and layout. There was pottery fragments have been found, fine Samian ware from Gaul, common grey ware, coarse ware. There's been numerous find, post holes in the pottery, obviously. A grave was discovered during the investigation. As it was not going to be disturbed by the improvement works, it was left in situ, but only after it was fully surveyed and sampled. Further analysis of these samples will hopefully provide more information about both the burial and the extramural settlements. And of course, if you look for the God Archaeology on the internet, I'm sure you will learn a lot more from them. So the Grimsby Telegraph, they've put an article out this week which is quite interesting for those of us interested in metal detecting in the UK. 5 treasures buried around Grimsby, from crown jewels to Nazi weapons. And the article basically goes into depth, looking at what lies beneath North East Lincolnshire. Obviously there's a growing army of detectorists according to this, as I would call it, not so much an army, but a growing number of hobbyists. And obviously there's been a lot found locally, from Roman coins, jewellery, etc, etc. So the first one of the legendary things that are alleged to be buried in the Grimsby area over the decades is that of the King John's crown jewels. We've all heard the story of King John losing his crown jewels, and people believed it happened near the Wash. According to one theory, the lost treasure could be buried in a back garden in Grimsby. In his book, Sucked Down by the Whirlpool, The Quest for King John's Lost Treasure, author James Wright tells how, as he fled a French invasion in 1216, John sent a cargo of goods from Wisbeck in Cambridgeshire to Grimsby. He suggests the cargo could have held his treasure, destined for safekeeping at Wellow Abbey, which is remembered today in place names such as Wellowgate and Abbey Drive. John reached Grimsby on October the 3rd, 1216, before leaving the following day for Louth. He died a little over 2 weeks later at Newark Castle. Next, we've got some ancient coin hoards. Archaeologists and metal detectors have discovered hundreds of Roman, Anglo-Saxon and medieval artefacts around North East Lincolnshire. Among the most famous are those of the Tetney hoard and the Killingholme hoard. The Tetney hoard was discovered in May 1945 and included 394 pennies of the Anglo-Saxon kings Edred, Eadwig, Edgar and the Viking Kingdom of York. Roman coins have also been discovered in the area. The Killingholme hoard was uncovered in a field near Immingham in 1993 by local detectorists and contained about 3,700 Roman coins from the age of Constantine, who was made emperor in York. The exact location of the discovery still remains a guarded secret. The next one suggests a story which is mentioned on a historical website, is that at the end of the Second World War, thousands of German weapons were brought from the continent and buried in a secret location somewhere in the Humber Bank. According to the tale, bulldozers dug huge pits for guns including Mausers, Lugers and the machine guns, as well as heaps of bullets. An ex-army private who was part of the operation would tell the story of a pint at the Imperial pub and show regulars a Kriegsmarine Navy Luger he had rescued from landfill. Have any of you actually heard of this strange story? If so, give us a shout at archmdmag.com. That's editor@archmdmag.com. Our next somewhat intriguing, we'll call it, even though it says the word paranormal, and people who have paranormal databases are usually not the most reliable of sources. This records the legend that a treasure is buried in an unnamed field near the village of Beelsby. 2 fairy-like entities wearing a red cap are said to occasionally appear searching for a hoard. So allegedly there's a hoard there. It's known as a site of a Roman village, and earthworks and Bronze Age burials may have inspired the stories. I think we're actually going to leave that there. And finally, the Waterloo veteran and his buried gold. Tommy Wilkinson is believed to have been the only Grimsby man who fought at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The story goes that his return to town, he became obsessed with digging for gold that he believed was buried in his back garden. In 1870, the artist James Gilliatt sketched Tommy's cottage, which stood on the west sound of Bargate, near the junction with Westwood Hoe. Tommy is in the picture, although, according to the Grimsby Book of Days, by former Telegraph journalist Lucy Wood, he dies a few years earlier, and there is no sign of a big hole that he dug. So that's the news for this week. Give us a shout. give it a mention, give it a share. We'd much appreciate that. And again, we're hoping to have the website all up and running properly with social media over the coming days. And just a shout out, of course, for the All Metal Mode UK podcast, which we take part in on a Thursday night on Spreaker. This week, talking of chariots, we have Mike Smith, who recently came out in the news about his find of a Celtic chariot in Pembrokeshire. And the following week, one which I'm very, very, very excited about, is Randall Sullivan, who is the author of a new book, A Curse of Oak Island, and that's obviously on the back of the latest and the final series of The Curse for Oak Island, a major mystery in Nova Scotia. I'm Dave Sadler. Hope you've enjoyed the news. Take care, everyone. Speak to you next week.
The Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine acts as a hub for information, offering articles from archaeologists, detectorists and other specialists throughout the genre, featuring many links, event info and news articles associated to archaeology and metal detecting. We also offer professional review services and promotion for books, resources, videos, documentaries, gadgets, equipment and much, much more. The magazine is run by the Archaeological and Metal Detecting community for the Archaeological and Metal Detecting community. So come visit us at archmdmag.com, that's archmdmag.com, and check out information from our media section with all the latest content, news from the Archaeology channel, podcasts and the YouTube channels that feature the now legendary Digger Dawn, The Man with the Hat and Archaeo Duck, just to name a few. If you would like to offer an article, link or inquire about other services, then pay us a visit at archmdmag.com and drop us a line.